Good afternoon. Good morning to everybody. We'll give it a few seconds and we'll get started here.
Hello, everybody.
Hello, everybody.
All right, got the attendees trickling in. All right. In the interest of time, we'll get started here. Thank you everybody for joining demo with the customer, LG Cloutier, featuring our partner Genius ERP. My name is Stefan. I'll go around in intros in a second, but the goal for today is to talk about how one of our mutual customers leverages both technologies to streamline quoting and drive efficiencies through the shop floor. We'll talk about what paperless parts is. We'll talk about who Genius is, and then LG Cloutier will give a little bit of background. We'll show the demo of paperless parts, and we'll talk about how Genius it can leverage the data from paperless parts both directions. And then we'll save some time at the end for questions. Now, we'll probably get through everything with about 10, 15 minutes to spare. So we have plenty of time for questions. But to make it easy, please put your questions in the Q&A chat. That will be the best opportunity for us to answer them all at the end. For folks who you may want to send this to, this will be recorded. So we'll probably get something tomorrow with the recording that you can share with the team. So I'll kick it off. Paperless parts. We are a quoting and estimating tool for custom part build to print manufacturers. We started in the United States about 2016, 2017, and have grown to over 900 customers in North America, including about 60 to 100 customers in Canada since our expansion there about a year and a half ago. Many of our customers are quoting highly complex bills of materials, assemblies, sheet metal, machining, parts. And for a little bit of scale, we probably have about 250,000 files going through the platform every single week. So it's really around automating and streamlining the quoting process. We have plenty of customers and case studies here. Didn't want to pick on LG because you guys are talking to them, but that's who we are. I'll turn it over to Maxime over here to talk about his business.
Thanks, Stefan. We at LG Cloutier are a manufacturer that wants to bring an end product to the customer. We want to integrate every process except for painting processes, for example, but we still take care of it. But it's not inside our inside business. But what we do is we deal with aerospace, we deal in energy. We can do big assemblies, like an assembly with 200 components in it. So this is where the need to be able to have an integration between Genius and Paperless came up. But what we do is we really are the integrator for everything that is metal. That's pretty much it. Yeah.
Wonderful. Thanks, Maxime. And Dave, I'll turn it over to you to talk about Genius.
Sure. Hi, everybody. First, thank you, Stefan, for the invitation. It's really cool to be doing that with you guys. It's cool to see Max as well. So Genius Solution, essentially, we're 30 years. We've been 30 years in business. We're really an ERP company. Essentially, about 1,000 of active customers. And today we have 2 ERPs as part of our products that we are offering. If you look at the right for a second, right, you can see that, we've been established in North America. So United States, Canada is where our typical business is. But now really we're targeting UK as our next expansion at the moment. So it's a really thrilling moment at the very now moment, but this is where we stand. If you move to the next slide, Stefan, really quickly, guys, I was talking about 2 ERPs. So we've got Genius ERP and Prextra ERP. two different products, two different intent. Genius ERP is really a vertical ERP system made for people that have complex, highly customized, and what we call engineer to order type of manufacturing. This is the one that's going to be shown in the presentation today. So the integration that was done was really with Genius ERP itself, and we've got also Prextra. That in that case, when you have a multi-model coverage, so if you do distribution and so on with other concept, right? This is more of a flexible platform. So without going in detail, just wanted to highlight these two products. Back to you, Stefan.
Wonderful. So I'll set the stage, or maybe I'll have Maxime set the stage around why both companies were brought in. Typically, when folks look at paperless parts, it's to complement existing work done in an ERP system, Excel, really just trying to drive a further automation than typically estimating that is a very manual process. So, Maxime, would love to get your experience and your take on why you searched out a solution and what were you hoping to complement out there.
Yeah, sure. What started the discussion, to be honest, is a big quotation, multiple assemblies, like 100 assemblies. Most of those assemblies were 50 part long. So it was a lot of part trying to process, trying to open the drawing, trying to just get all together inside one platform and just to be able to wrap things up. So we started in Excel, started the quotation, and then soon find out that a week passed, 2 week passed, and then the quotation was still not done. At the end of the day, we sometimes we lost some opportunities in the past because we were not fast enough to be able to build up a quote. Then we searched and found paperless parts where we were able to process all that quotation inside a 3 days gap. So clearly there was a big gap between the time it takes to be able to wrap around every drawing, everything, and get the data ready just to be able to quote. Just with that, paperless part saved us a lot of time. But since I'm an IT guy, I won't stop there. And it took me some hours to figure out a way to integrate Genius inside that, just to not be able to, just to not be have to reprocess all that data after that inside the ERP. So we hook up together, and then we decided to integrate everything up together, and it went well, and saves up a lot of time doing the code process and a lot of time doing the ERP side of thing after that. Yeah.
Wonderful. Yeah, obviously the goal with any system that you bring on is to make sure we're not adding more work. So Maxime helped us build out the integration between the two systems to make sure we can push and pull data. Now, as we go through the demonstration today, we are going to show off in a demo environment. So Maxime is not sharing his customers and his costing formulas, but I'll turn it over to him to talk about how he's leveraged some of the functionality. And then we have a recording of how the integration works on the back end to push the information into Genius. So we'll show that off as well so you can see it in action. Again, please, folks, if you have questions, put them in the Q&A chat. I will answer them at the end. Couple things I'll call out is I'll show off the platform with some sample files, sample processes, and Maxime, I'll ask him to talk about some of the onboarding, how he's built it out, how his team leverages it. Before I get started, Maxime, how many folks are using paperless parts across the organization today at LG?
We have around 10 estimators currently working on paperless parts. And
Wonderful.
then there are other people like the seller, the buyers, and the people from the shop floor that can still give comment and insight during the quote, which is a good tool for that.
Wonderful. Okay. So you have multiple people, multiple estimators, various departments working through quotes. Wonderful. Okay. So I'll show paperless parts right from the receipt of an RFQ. Many of our customers get RFQs in a variety of ways. It's email, it is a portal where you have to go drag and drop information. Maybe it's fax machines or physical documents. There's many ways to get information into paperless. The easiest way and our focus with anything we're doing in paperless parts is to streamline the setup process and eliminate manual data entry. So I have about 15 line items that this fictitious shop OEM has asked me to quote. I have various files, 3D files, 2D files, zip folders. We can handle them all. And the fastest way to get information into paperless is to forward this into your paperless parts account. We are going to scan it for viruses. We are going to bring in the files into one centralized location for your estimators, your team to look through. We're going to store a file from that original email, and we are going to extract everything that they're asking you to quote, whether that's a parts list, an Excel document, in the email itself. Paperless Parts is the cloud-based software. We really leverage collaboration. Quoting is typically a team sport. And so we build this with an enterprise licensing model in mind. Everybody who needs to have access to paperless parts can go into paperless parts and do their task, even if it's very random, very infrequent. Once you sign into paperless, you're going to see a dashboard. This dashboard is a way to track quotes. We typically hear folks building quote logs, ways to figure out who's doing what, how many quotes have we sent, what's the status. As you forward and work through quotes in paperless, this is going to be where your team keeps track of it. So Maxime, I'd imagine when folks typically come to us with multiple estimators, trying to figure out who's doing what is time consuming. How do you guys leverage the dashboard here?
Everything is set to a salesman. So as soon as somebody as the quote enter, there's somebody that process the new quote and then put it into the end of a available salesman at that time, or if that salesman is more used to that. For example, in aerospace, then that's going to be the salesman that's going to have the quote in this process. And then the salesman goes into its dashboard and can process the quote at that time. Yeah.
Gotcha. So they have each salesperson estimator has their own views in paperless.
Yeah.
Okay, wonderful. So let's pick on the quote that we just forwarded in. What you're looking at here is 13468 that was created from this RFQ that I forwarded. Now, paperless parts, we've built our own AI model. I think my marketing team would kill me if I didn't say AI 7 times in this platform, this demo, but it is really, we call it Wingman. It's really designed to extract information and provide a second set of eyes for anything on a document, a quote, a model, a print that you may miss as we're working through many components, complex files. So we denote that with the purple icon. You can see from this email, we extracted the date that the buyer sent you the email. We extracted the customer, which, for example, is Lockheed Martin. I assigned a certain salesperson that only works on Lockheed Martin quotes. And we've extracted the part numbers, descriptions, quantities from the email itself. Now, again, there's probably 5 or 6 ways folks get RFQ packages. This is one way. Another way could be extracting information from an Excel document and or dragging and dropping those files in. As we assigned and created these 15 line items, we didn't have to type anything. What we can now do from here is really understand the files that they sent you. Many customers come to us asking to leverage 3D files. So being able to handle various sorts of files, whether that's step files, CATIA files, DXF, DWGs, PDFs, you can see and view them all in paperless parts. Now, when it comes to extracting information, we'll talk about the various automation methods we can provide with each file type. But really, no matter what file you get, our focus is how do we assign these and match these to the line items that you're asking you to quote. Many customers get a package of files. It takes hours to sort through it all and really try to figure out what you have, what you're missing. Our goal with AI is you can extract this information. We're going to quickly show you the preview of each file and each line item to show off what we have. You can see some of the information we're finding within those PDF documents. We're showing off matching parts. The goal of this is set up a quote package, even if you get 100 line items, in a matter of seconds. Additionally, where it comes to, especially with LG, around complex assemblies, now this one isn't really complex, but we're also breaking out the bill of materials. This is typically a time-consuming process to set it up. And so our focus with paperless parts is extracting that information, including the node quantities, where this is something you do not have to type. One of our new tools as well is really around extracting information from PDF documents, even when you don't get a 3D file, to, again, automate the setup process. I know, Maxime, this is a bit, I know you tested us quite a bit at the very beginning with various file types, but how do you see this working for your organization?
To be honest, it worked pretty well. We have processed a lot of files, either steps and CATIA. Not much PDF, to be honest. It's mostly 3D files that we receive, and it really rarely miss a spot in the file. More, I'd say 99% of the time, the CATIA or the step file or the SolidWorks file, which is what we receive most of the time, is entirely processed, and it really goes fast.
Nice. You can see as we extract some of the information, we are looking on the PDF to pull things like the revision, the part number, the description. On a simple part, we are showing off things like the material specs that we can identify, links directly from, and GD&T directly from the PDF document. I dropped in maybe a little bit more of a complex assembly. This is something that Maxime maybe would see, where we have various sub-assemblies with children. The goal is, I think that was under a minute, extracting all of these manufactured components, showing previews of these parts. Now we can start assigning costing formulas to them. So from here, we have typically the next stage in a process is, now that we've set up the quote, it's understanding, have we made this part before? What are the risks associated with this part? Do we even want to quote this? The triage step, if you will. So first off, as you drop load anything in paperless parts, we are going to show matching parts. This is where we are going to show you when you've made this part before or when you've uploaded this part before. That can be on the geometry. Some of our customers get the same part from various different OEMs. How do you make sure you don't reinvent the wheel? We can show off, even if the name is different, the time that has been uploaded into paperless. We can show that on a file name match, a part number match. If I go into maybe a little component here, we can also show off similar geometries, which really captures rev change as well. Many customers get a bracket that has an extra hole. Let's use that as a starting point rather than reinventing the quotation from scratch. That's a big part of paperless. You can also search anything. If I want to come in and say, when have I seen an offset connector before? You can search for it in paperless in your search tool. This will show off anytime the keyword lives on the quote, the file name, or even on the PDF itself. This is where many customers can try to narrow it down into the perfect part. I'll say that this also works. We're English based. However, I'm sure you can type in French in here and it will pop up just as well. That's our French capabilities right now. With that, we're also calling out information on the PDF. So if I pick on one of these files here, you can see we are grabbing things like links with tolerances, control frames. Everything that we see here can be used to set up rules. Many of our customers will say, if we see Inconel, we will not quote that. In this example, we can set up rules that say these tight tolerances, we're going to flag them whenever we see something that's tighter than X. No quote that automatically. So this is how we can leverage information on a print where you guys get hundreds of files. How do we make sure that we are setting up rules to really understand this file very quickly? Things like remove all burrs. We need to add a deburring operation. There's a spec. Let's figure out what we need to do there. True positions. These can be customizable to anything on a PDF. Relatively new feature as of late last year. From here, now we can talk about costing. So pick on a simple fabricated part first to talk through how our costing methodology works. Many of our customers come to us from a Excel costing template or quoting in the ERP system. We never want to replace or waste that way of coding today. What we're trying to do is really take the same exact costing formulas and build them into paperless parts. For example, most customers try to calculate material based off of the dimensions of the part, maybe some buffers based on the type of part or process it is. That same costing template, those same costing rules are in paperless. We just translate those and bring them over. When as much information that we can grab off of the 3D or 2D files can be used to fill out those costing templates. So most of our customers have anywhere from 20 or so processes. In my demo account, I have various things like live tooling, milling, turning, punching. And as I select the material and the process, that is going to bring in those costing templates. Now, you can see the word dynamic here. Many of our customers leverage geometry to influence the routing. For example, if we identify a bend, bring in a forming operation. If we don't identify a bend, do not bring that in. Many of our customers also look at the number of holes, the number of cutouts that can influence whether this is a laser or a punch part. This is all rules that we can set up using geometry, right? Many of our customers want to have a template to drive consistency across the various estimators and have a baseline template that they can adjust from. So if I want to come in and make any changes, we're not starting the quote from scratch. We are rather adjusting and fine tuning based on our expertise. So many of our customers ask us, how long does this take? How do you make sure it's dialed in? Hearing from customers is always very important. So Maxime would love to get your take on the onboarding process, how you set this up, how your team leverages templates.
What we've done, because we have a lot of process in our shop. We mapped and done a template of a process for every processes we have. So we have a little bit more than 20 porter, and most of the time we use all the data that is within the tab file, and then it creates exactly what you've seen, the template. And what we've done while we were doing the onboarding is we have took a lot of time to be able to make sure that paperless parts, when it estimates the runtime, it's as accurate as it can be. So we have validated a lot and done a lot of cycle of validation to be sure that runtime is good. So when we actually input the process during the quote, we don't really change it. Most of the time, every time we change it, we have done a mistake. So it's better to just let it. Once we have run enough processes, we just don't touch that runtime, and it's for the better most of the time.
Yeah. Now, was that all done before you guys went live with paperless, or was that a
Yes,
continuous
it
improvement
was all
exercise?
done before. It was all done before we've done this work, and you guys came in our shop floor. We've done the processes. Me and Sebastian dedicated ourselves to me the integration with Genius, Sebastian with the machine, and then within a couple of weeks, paperless was accurate with its estimation, and
Mhm.
we let it estimate the runtime, and it goes pretty well.
Nice. The For a little bit of context on how we can help determine that, there's a few ways for machining. It's a little bit more of an art form. For sheet metal fabrication, it's more of a science. A lot of our customers will import a feed and speed table for their particular machines. That's a table that we can reference, rates based on a thickness and a material and a particular laser. As we set up rules, this part is a certain size, a certain thickness, complexity. It has to go on a certain laser or machine. You can see that we have different toggles. Paperless Parts allows for, I wouldn't say unlimited customization, but very flexible for any sort of nuance or use cases you guys think about. You can see there's overrides, so we can fine tune certain logic even at the formula level. Oh, this was catted wrong, so it's actually it's missing 12 holes. You can adjust and override things, save those changes, and show off how it influences cost. Some of our customers also, I know there was an anodized operation on this particular part. Many of our customers also leverage Paperless Parts to drive consistency in how we're determining maybe a vendor cost, maybe the right vendor to use. Paperless Parts allows for maybe for a particular finish, there's a certain spec that can drive which vendors we can even use. Based on those vendors, maybe we have their lot charge, their piece price, the way they cost in Paperless. That can be logic we build in as well, right? The goal is, as we think about every aspect of quoting that takes time, part of that is just getting costs from other people. So how do we do that? How do we assign tasks to folks within the organization? Maybe it's something where I need a senior leader, I need my machinist, I need somebody on the shop floor to look at this. I can assign them a task. Hey, need help. They'll get an email notification right into this part. You can do that on a model, on a print. If you open up the 3D file, we have a built-in part viewer. Many of our customers can't open up 3D files or really can't leverage the 3D files because of CAD, CAM's limitations. You can do this in Paperless Parts. And if I want to collaborate on any cutout feature, let's pick on maybe some of these guys here. I can chat directly on this view with somebody in the organization. Now, this information is stored for future reference. So when you see this part again, you have all the context. Many times this information is lost in somebody's head, in a Teams message, in an email. So how do we get it all into one spot so we can all leverage that? Anything I missed here, Maxime, on how you guys leverage Paperless Parts, some of the costing rules you've set up to drive consistency?
To be honest, you probably you wrapped around pretty well, but I still want to just emphasize the fact that all those notes came up useful more than once with everything inside of it. We were able to find information, refine information within the quote, because sometimes you quote something and then you get the order or the parts to do like 6 months later, and maybe you lost somebody, the guy that worked on the quote or something, and then you can refine all the information. It really came clutch more than once, so that's a pretty good feature.
Wonderful. This same level of assigning templates and processes can be done at scale as well. So if I'm looking at all of these parts, it's a very visual system. The idea is you don't have to go click into every single part to understand this file. I can look at all of these, and let's assume we know that every one of these is a certain material. I can come in, update the process, say these are all sheet metal parts. Same process here. This is all cold roll steel. As we select the same process, same material, you can see as it spins and thinks here, we are going to flatten the file, derive the same routing steps. They're all generally the same, however, a couple different costs here. Again, leveraging the exact geometry of these files. From here, if I open up one of them, you can see the interrogation results. Maybe something we didn't necessarily talk about was nesting. being able to nest each of these parts in one section here to optimize material. Some folks use this, some folks don't. Depends on how aggressive and competitive you need to do. I need to get. Maxime, is this something your team leverages?
They don't all do it. It really depends.
Yeah, it depends on, yeah. Again, most customers they'll do this if they need to be competitive or not. If you need to go and send your layout team a request to program a part, this is something where we can bring it into paperless. Again, another feature that's asked of us a bunch. Now, if we talk about a machined part, there's some other interrogation we can do as well. If I come in and I select the process here, let's just say milled process 6061. Typically, what we're looking at when you interrogate a machined part, there's a bunch of there's other analysis that gets derived. Things like the bounding box of the part, the number of holes, the number of features. This can be used, for example, the bounding box of this part can determine how much material do we need based on a buffer, the number of holes, the counterbores, countersinks, pockets, the area. Again, everything can be used to set up rules. There's also warnings. These can be configured to your organization. Things like chamfers, convex fillets, deep holes. Deep holes kind of interesting because this can be a warning or not, depending on your organization. Again, when we're quoting a lot of work, we want to make sure we don't miss anything that can cost us money that we're giving away for free to our customers. So things like if we see a depth to tool diameter greater than X, flag it. So we make sure we go and look at this part and talk about it, right? Do we have the right tooling? Do we need to add cost here? This is how we can drive consistency and allow junior folks to come in and work through quoting. From here, there's rules that we can set up to summarize costs in one screen. So what's the breakout of costs for inside, for raw material, outside components? We can also set up rules for pricing. So as sales derives what the price back to the customer is, there can be many things that influence that. Maybe there's different markups or margin for material versus outside service. Maybe there's a certain customer where you're going to charge them more because they're a pain in the you know what. This is where we can set up rules here. Some of our customers look at a markup on a particular work center, a markup on volume. So if we're making 10 million parts, we are going to lower the markup because we want to win that type of work. All sorts of strategies here to derive a cost that you can always come in and obviously adjust. You'll see a profit margin, things like tooling, NRE, certificate of conformances can be required or not required on a quote. This shows your customer the breakout that's not hidden in the unit price. And we can also have different lead times. This could be a standard default. It could be influenced by some of the information we're typing in. But we can also offer different lead times. So if you wanted a day faster, it's 25%. If you want it 5 days faster, I don't know if anybody can get it to you guys in one day for this part, but let's say you want it in one day. It's 100% markup. We can do this as well and offer up different lead times, add-ons, etc. Before I show off sending the quote out and what the customer experience looks like, anything, Maxime, you want to chime in here on?
No. To be honest, you pretty much covered it. Nothing I can add more than that.
Wonderful.
Stefan.
Okay. So let's talk about sending this quote out. Assuming we've marked it as complete, we've finished all the outstanding work. There's 3 ways to get information back to the customer: a digital quote, a PDF, which is very similar to an ERP system quoting through there, or a CSV export, which basically takes all the data from paperless parts into a custom format. That could be for particular OEMs that have you type stuff into a portal. That could be for internal documentation because you have a certain format. many ways to customize the data out of paperless parts. But if you click finalize quote, that is how you send quotes through paperless. You can see we're missing all these lead times, prices, because I didn't quote any of this stuff. I'm going to acknowledge that. We can have consistent templates on how we send quotes and communication to our customers. You'll see a link. What the link looks like as you work through a quote is it'll have your company name, your company logo. It's really trying to compete with the Xometry, the Proto Labs of the world, where many folks are checking out online through quoting marketplaces. How do we give you the same technology? So, Maxime, I know that your customers really enjoyed this. I know we talked about this a little bit. Do you want to talk through that?
Yeah, yeah, but well, this is one of the feature that clearly I received comments of some customer that not only they liked how the prices are shown, how the parts are all together, but they ask us to never come back to a PDF, which was funny at some point. But yeah, they I we didn't see we saw that it was a good way to show everything to the customer, but what we didn't realize is how much the customer would like it. It was really appreciated, and like I said, some of them don't want to come back to a PDF.
There we go. Not only does it make shops look professional, modern, it's a sales tool, right? It's an opportunity to show off uh, investing in modern technology. It's the first, or maybe first touch point into a long relationship. You want to provide your best foot forward, and that's why we've built that. Now, as you send out the quote, many of our customers also need to track quotes, outstanding quotes. What are quotes in progress? What are quotes that are due this week? Out of my outstanding quotes, what's about to expire. We can have all sorts of filters here to really understand as I'm working through these quotes, where do they stand? And as I send out quotes, what can be followed up on? One of the cool things about those quotes, those digital quotes, is as they are sent through paperless, you can track them in paperless as well. How many times have they been viewed? Have they not been viewed at all? And even resend the quote, say, hey, do you have any questions on this? It's about to expire. So, I wouldn't say we're a CRM tool, but many of our customers utilize us like a mini CRM and really trying to track quotes and sales opportunities. Now, there's probably a few ways to look at this, but there's a lot of data in paperless parts. So the last thing that we can leverage is what type of metrics, what type of KPIs are important for your business, and can we track them in paperless? So one of the things that folks ask us to do is, all right, we sent out quotes. What's our win rate? What's our capture rate? You can look at win rates in a variety of different ways. The simplest is what's my win rate by customer? I've sent Stryker 31 quotes. I've gotten 0 back. I probably should have a conversation with them. Maybe I should increase my pricing for GE because I have a 70% hit rate. Again, you can track all this in paperless parts. If you guys are using quote logs, Excel to track this, it's very manual and time consuming. You can also take this a step further by looking at win rates by material, by work center, by vendor, processes, turnaround time, all sorts of data here to really dive into the business. Even, fun graphs and, things like outstanding pipeline, what's the likelihood of winning? Can I forecast using my quote data? So by getting everything in one spot, you can leverage this information a little easier. Maxime, what type of stuff are you looking at when you're looking at paperless parts?
To be honest, we are all still at the default side with just the win rate with the customer.
Yeah,
We are working to because we've got a new sales director, so he's trying to do his own dashboard and growing from there. But we did not go too far inside the KPI and all
nice.
the analytics. We are still working to make sure that everything goes through and is 100% perfect. And we still have a lot of code to do, so most of our time are on the codes.
There we go. So as this quote is received, won, finalized, now we'll talk about the integration and what that looks like. Good segue for the question that's just asked. So let's talk through this. We recorded this about a 2 minute snippet. We redacted some of the sensitive information, and we'll talk through how this actually integrates. Now, this is an export. Typically, when we talk about an integration with an ERP, it's a two-way sync. There's information that's relevant, things like part masters, material, customers, contacts, rates, that can be automatically synced and leveraged in paperless parts. So some of the numbers that we calculated could be based on a work center rate that gets updated in the ERP. Let's leverage that information so it's like you're quoting in the quoting module of an ERP system. When we talk about the export, that is getting the information back into paperless. So we'll talk through that right now with this video. I'm going to make sure that you guys can hear me.
Once we are done with the quote, when we finalize the quote, it then transfer back to our Genius ERP system. And that process saves us a lot of time. Because remember when I discussed it, it could be an assembly of 150 part, 200 part. So what the customer is going to see is their big assembly. They select one line. Okay, good. I like the price of 2 or 7, whatever, not matter. But for us, what it created is the entire BOM, the entire process that was needed to be able to make that part. So if I go quickly inside Genius, I've got my part. Remember, there's a 4-plate beam support SE. The number is already transferred inside Genius. We made a process so that all the files were transferred also. And as discussed, we have 3 components, the ratio that they were needed for the assembly, program, cut, debur, and then folded all 3 parts. So everything's in there. Everything is prepared to be able to do everything. Everything was transferred from paperless part to Genius. Everything needed from Genius to work was done. And when the quote is finalized, it also creates an order. It creates an order with the quote in the name, and then create all the BOMs. Transfer the price list, transfer everything. So from there, you can start. You're almost ready to produce. That's pretty much it for Genius at that point. Everything's transferred and ready to go.
Wonderful.
Once we are done.
I don't think we want to run that again. All right. So
No.
from here, let's talk about how you can leverage the information from Paperless parts into Genius. And with that, I'll turn it over to Dave.
Thank you, Stefan. You want to show the video again? Okay.
Yeah, there we go. Third time's the charm. All right.
That's fine. I guess I just wanted to take 2 minutes. It's not going to be long. It's not going to be a demo, but typically we look at these kind of integration and we say, oh, you know what? It's fun. It helps me because we remove certain steps and it's less double entries. But the truth at the end is that there's probably more than this in terms of benefits. So when you think about it now, what they've shown is that now the bill of material is now in Genius and ready to be processed. So what this serves actually, it serves in the system afterward, not only as from coding purposes, but also it's going to become that job baseline, right? So as the progression of the job as people are going to progress along doing their job. So let's imagine the welder welds a tube or something like that, right? As it goes, people will clock in and then we'll be able to see the progress of the jobs compared to what actually the baseline was from paperless. At that moment, what becomes very successful or what becomes very cool about it is that instead of just looking at a job cost from the end perspective, now you can actually look at the in progress job and see if something is about to derail or is derailing before it's too late. So just saying that at that moment, you can actually have some proactive alerts based on all of that information that was actually sent through. If you move to the next slide, for me, what it means at the end, right? I've said that over here, I'm saying Genius, as you know, it's an ERP system. Some of you guys know me. I looked at the attendees. I recognize certain names. Some others do not know. But at the end of the day, also all of the routings you've seen from the integration standpoint will serve from a scheduling standpoint. So now we're going to be able to really see, okay, step one goes before step two, goes before step three, and have a thorough schedule with targeted milestones to complete in order to be able to deliver parts. So this all comes from all of that code that was done initially. Okay. The last thing it does is that because a job actually retains all of that information, and now we have a continuity that goes through. Now we really have a complete traceability from quote up to the delivery at the end, right? So this is really important normally because people typically when you have no systems, you end up saying, okay, I have a paper now, I'm sending that to production, and then there's a rupture. Now there's really continuity that exists in between, which allows you for when you're going to quote again, get back that information, updates if need be, even certain, whether it's cost rules, whether it's evaluation for any kind of reasons, and then get a more accurate coding process afterward, plus on top a more profit at the end. So guys, for me, it's just a high level, just saying, think about it from just not manual entry savings. Think about it from all of the outputs that it brings at the end, the outcomes you're going to get. That's Stefan. It was as simple as that.
Yeah, wonderful. The reason why we did the webinar together was really it's been a great partnership. I think since Maxime was our first, or LG was our first Quebec customer, as well as our first Genius customer. They were the guinea pigs for a bunch, but we've done this a few times. Looking at the attendee list, there's a few mutual customers on there as well. It's really been a solid partnership so far. The APIs between our two systems mesh well, and really the foundation of that and the goal of that in a partnership is we're not adding more work, and the systems we bring on complement each other, not create friction. So with that said, again, some of the benefits of a system together is really most of our customers see time savings that allows the team to scale without having to hire additional folks because they can handle more throughput, RFQ opportunities. There's this idea of streamlining the quote to cash cycle and responding to quotes faster to influence win rates. And then there's around visibility. Where does a quote stand? Who's doing what? How do we have visibility on our quoting and our front end process? That's why people bring on the systems together. So with that, I want to turn over to questions. We have about 10 minutes or so, and I see some questions again for folks. We'll start off with the ones in the Q&A chat. I'll lead those, and I'll probably pick on Maxime for a few of them. But if you guys have questions at this point, please feel free to put them in, and we'll answer as many as we can. So first off is when analyzing CAD drawings at the beginning of the estimation process, can we check if the part name already exists in Genius? Short answer is yes. Many of our customers would input parts lists, part masters as a table that we can reference. Now, if part that you uploaded and the AI setup was part 1, 2, 3, 4, we can reference that part master to say, does that live in Genius? Do we have actuals? When's the last time we quoted it? Most of our customers don't want us to bring in more than that. It's really a gut check to say, does this live in Paperless or not? Or does this live in Genius or not? And if so, I may want to dive in, or I may just say that was quoted 5 years ago, 10 years ago. I do not want to requote it. I don't know, Maxime, if you have another way of doing that. That's what our customers typically do, but I know you've gotten pretty creative with some of the integration capabilities.
I mean, I've been creative at some point, but we mostly have done that. We have imported the list that we currently have, and then we can know if we have already quoted this part at least once and at what time, so that if it's too long, like 5 years since we've done the part, then we can reprocess that inside the quote and give off another price.
Nice. Okay. Um, I'll pick on you for the next question is what did you use before paperless parts? So somebody asked if you had experience with the Excel estimator, and if so, were you able to replicate your business logic in paperless? What were the main obstacles? Are there still things you use outside of paperless? For example, raw material and cost price lists of that material.
Yeah, I'll answer both probably at the same time. To be honest, I've programmed almost paperless parts at one time. We weren't with Genius at the time. We were with ShopTech subsystem, E2 subsystem, and I've programmed in a web-based environment, mostly the same, but it wasn't the same. At the end, paperless part is doing a better job than me at that point. It was a while back. And then when we migrated to Genius, yes, we migrated to the Genius estimator. But what we have done at that point is since my business logic was already implemented as a web base, I already had API answering the Excel estimator at that point to be able to replicate what I have done before. So when I came up to paperless parts at that point, was more or less a transition where I was in the past to a similar platform with better visual and clearly more people working on it in the background. And yeah, it was an easy transition because at the end of the day, when I've done my paperless in 2010 as a web-based platform for estimation. We were already in the process of linking SolidWorks, but I was stuck with not digesting like the step files. So I had issue with my platform at that point, but I was a sole programmer at that time. And everything that I had issue with my platform, paperless parts was doing a little bit better. And it wasn't a big job to migrate the logic over their system. Mostly because Genius Estimator was using the exact same logic with API in the background, which was not like Stephen said, I can be creative with IT system, so it was not a usual Genius Estimator.
Wonderful. Okay. Next question here. Is it necessary to be on the latest version of Genius to work? Dave, I'll pick on you for this question. When Genius is updated, is paperless parts functional with the new version?
That's fine. So guys, the bottom line, the integration itself works through our APIs. So globally speaking, Genius version 15, 16, 17, you should not have any issue. Before it needs to be checked out, right? Just making sure that the proper APIs are there. But globally speaking, I'd say that you don't have to be at the latest and greatest necessarily to be able to use it. But you have to still be at some of the latest, if that makes sense to you.
Yeah.
Well,
it's really just being able.
15. Yeah, I can say at least for the 15, it was working because that time that we integrated it with it. So.
Wonderful. Yeah, it's really just around, pulling the right endpoints and, working with you guys to figure that out. I know, we've tested with a few customers now at this point, so we can dive in more unique situations. Next question here is, Maxime, I'll pick on you for this one.
Yeah.
How do you deal with budget quotes where you don't have all the information or drawings available? And change orders after you've already pushed the order to Genius?
Well, we can change it. Once I deal with the order, it's probably a simpler question, but once the order is pushed inside Genius, you can change everything. What we've done is we've linked the quote numbers as a reference for the paperless part quote, but after that, you're inside your Genius environment, and then you can do whatever you want with the order. If you still wish to change the price, they are not linked and bound to the end of the earth. It's still working as intended for Genius. As for the budget, I'll be completely honest. We don't do too much budget. We had too many hit and miss quote in that sense. So we always get the 3D or the PDF, or at least information. When we are more like a budget level, we most likely answer no quote at the end of the day.
Okay. Yeah, we can dive on that a little bit deeper if you'd like, around budgetary quotes and how to handle that. I want to be mindful of the few other questions here. So I'll pick on two quickly that I can answer. Are you able to track quoted versus actual after the job is completed? Machine learning integrated. We are not machine learning integrated. We never want to spit, and that's intentional. We never want to spit out a price that you did not bless, approve, and set up the rules for. With that said, many of our customers will look at actuals and compare the variance between their estimates in their ERP system. I know that's possible in Genius. The idea then is you can adjust rules very easily in paperless parts. So if we had a rule for weld time that was a certain inches per minute, for example, that was wildly off for easy or maybe even hard welds, we can adjust that and for every future quote. That's what a lot of our customers do. It's an intentional adjustment. It's not automatic. The second question, or one other question I can answer, is what about welded and polished parts? We didn't talk about that. You can definitely do that in paperless parts. We are not, for something like weld, we're helping you drive a consistent weld speed. CAD files are generally not good enough to grab the total weld or call out the weld length. So it's something you type in and you'd be able to adjust it from there. Polished parts, depending on how you quote that, we can do that in paperless parts as well. Even if it's a default value or it's an assumption based on another routing step. That's typically how folks think about that. When importing parts, does paperless automatically associate material types and thicknesses? Are you able to set rules to associate margins for various thicknesses? The client typically provides 3D files. However, 16 gauge for us internally is 0.063, where the client associates that as 0.059. Does it be simply a fact association, or does it have this capacity to select the closest available thickness within the database? Maxime, I can answer that, but I'm curious on how you would handle that.
I would let you answer that
All right.
because I don't know in the specific how my estimator does it, and
Okay.
I
Yeah,
don't
no
want
worries.
to be to give up a wrong answer.
Yeah, no, generally we can round up to the closest available thickness. That round up, round down, you tell us the rule for that. We can definitely do that. We could definitely talk about that more. One more minute. Can we handle 5-axis machining? Yes. However, most of our customers don't leverage the cycle time calculations within paperless. The automation is really around everything else, especially with 5-axis machining. Volumetric removal doesn't work. Programming the part is the most accurate way, but most of our customers want to balance speed versus accuracy. So we can help you determine a risk and go from there. So yes, we have probably 40% of our customer base does machining, and it's complex machining.
And
I
that's
think,
mostly how we do it for the 5-axis. We set the complexity. We still use, at least as a baseline, the part removal, just so that we are aware of how much removal there is to do. But it's mostly the complexity and the experience of the estimator at that point.
yep. Nice. There's one more question if folks want to stay on, but before that, I want to be mindful of everybody's time. There's an opportunity to get in touch with us if you're curious on both how both systems work. Please feel free to reach out to one or both of us, and we'll be happy to give you a customized demo. Thank you, everybody, for the time. With that said, one last question is, does it work at the quote to order conversion level, including order confirmation for only certain lines of the quote? Are Genius quotes created from entries made in paperless parts, or do we stop generating quote entries in Genius? Typically, folks are stopping to create the quote entries in Genius. They're doing it in Paperless. And as we complement that information and push it in, we're only pushing the one quotes, and that's the certain line items on that quote. So if you only want line item 1 and there's a package of 10, we would only push that information. And then it's a handshake between Genius and Paperless to push the right information into the right spot. Can certainly talk about that a little bit more. But thank you, everybody, for the time. I know I went over by 1 minute, but I definitely appreciate this, and we'll send the recording. Thank you, everybody.
You guys,
Thanks, bye.
bye.